We have a catalog of about 40,000 titles. Makes us about 5 to 6 times Netflix library.
Welcome to Founders in 15. Today I have an amazing entrepreneur, Mr. Farhad Massoudi, who's with us. Farhad and I known each other for quite a few years. We've been through the journey of your entrepreneurship. Quite a journey. Let's start by an introduction. Kind of a little bit of your history, where you come from, how did you get to all the way up to Tubi? Let's start with that.
Sure. So I was born in the United States, but I grew up in Iran. I left the U.S. when I was 9 months old, and my parents were in the academics, so they stayed in Iran for various reasons. They got stuck in Iran for many years. I came to U.S. For a summer vacation, a year out into college, in the year 2000, July 2000. And a few weeks into my vacation, I decided to not go back and stay, which was a surprise to my parents, but I think you could argue one of the best decisions I've ever made. It worked out. I'm glad I did it. And so shortly after, I went to community college, and then later on I went to UC Berkeley nearby. I know we both are Berkeley alumni, and got my degree in computer science, or electrical engineering and computer science, EECS as we call it in Cal. And then, that's my journey to technology. That's where it started, thanks to the exposure to Silicon Valley.
And I remember for the period you were with the team over at Yahoo.
Yahoo was also a really interesting experience. Both learn what to do and what not to do in a way. I joined Yahoo fresh out of college, and I joined the division at Yahoo called Yahoo Personals, which was at the time second largest online dating site in the U.S.
I didn't know that.
That's awesome. They sold it to Match.com eventually, which was number one, and I had the coolest title at Yahoo, was Yahoo Matchmaker. So it was a lot of fun. And Yahoo was during that period where they were doing fairly well in direct competition with Google on search front. And they clearly missed the boat on a lot of fronts in that period. It was frustrating to see them be timid and scared of taking risk. It was also incredibly educational to see them compete and how they approach the market. So about 3 years into it, I decided that I've had enough of corporate world and Yahoo. I learned a lot and ended up at a startup company. And that was the beginning of my journey in the startup world.
Now let's go to Tubi. I mean, I've known you really from early days of it. And you iterate that business quite interestingly over time. Very insightfully, I should say.
So Tubi is the largest free on-demand streaming service in the United States. And we have presence beyond U.S. borders, but we're predominantly
Give us some metrics.
About 40 million monthly active users. We have, I think, we're a public company. I mean, we're owned by a public company, so I need to be careful what stats I share. But we announced the latest revenue we announced was about a little bit less than a year ago. In the prior 12 months, we had done about $400 million of revenue, so we're significantly larger than that. And the business is growing at incredible speed. Team is only 400 people, so it's not dramatically larger. And we have a catalog of about 40,000 titles. Makes us about 5 to 6 times Netflix library.
Wow.
By far, world's largest library of content. We pride ourselves in enabling diverse voices.
So to be today, 400 employees, part of Fox, I mean, I keep seeing Tubi when I'm watching football on Sundays.
Right.
Fox is constantly promoting Tubi now. And I noticed that you also just launched original content, or at least what I've heard, you're going to have original content on Tubi.
This year, we're doing about 60 original movies.
Wow.
We just launched our first animated series called The Freak Brothers with Woody Harrelson, John Goodman, Pete Davidson, Tiffany Haddish. So now I'm in the original business, believe it or not. We're expanding that. It's been incredibly successful for us. So we're going to do a lot more movies. Yeah, next year.
Yeah, there were some very interesting kind of abstractions to your business. I mean, I remember early days, we were talking about the audience, we were talking about the content, and we were talking about this tech enablement, the kind of the connecting tissue, which was data-driven, connecting tissue. Maybe talk a little bit about the progression of Tubi, where you started, and then how you evolved the business to where it is today, and I should say evolved the technology and the platform to where it is today.
Let me start by saying I think this is really important. As you know this very well, like I didn't even grow up in the U.S., so not only I'm not a media expert by training, I don't even know the pop culture as well as an American person who grew up in the U.S. So for me to run a tech-enabled media company is an unusual one, but it's because of that I think we have a very uniquely different perspective about what the future of media should look like. When I, as an entrepreneur, I always look at categories and markets that are ripe for disruption. Mm-hmm. And I think media industry is uniquely, has been and continues to be a unique opportunity because they tend to be not data-driven as much as some of them claim to be. They're not. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of content is produced based on gut calls, which tends to appeal to audiences on the coasts and not true average American household. Even better, we can program for every household independently as opposed to what a traditional cable network does, which is one schedule for the whole country. Mm-hmm. And so we thought that we have an unfair advantage by leaning heavy on data and personalization as opposed to broadcast approach. And that was
you're really a matchmaker now.
Yeah, I guess that's perhaps still in the matchmaking business. That was our hunch, but the truth is we had a lot to learn in this process in the past decade.
So I recall, getting MGM and Lionsgate to come on board as investors, and essentially Lionsgate also helped us quite a bit by giving us content, so was MGM, and that was a change. That was a change for us.
Yeah, so Hollywood is a very tight community, and I was an outsider. I still am an outsider of Hollywood, and we just couldn't get traction with Hollywood because we were these nobodies. And yes, I think that was a huge deal for us. That was the moment where we kind of showed up on the map when Lionsgate and MGM made a small investment. But it was sort of a validation of our business.
And you brought a good return of capital to them.
Yeah, they were really happy investors.
I've watched you evolve as a leader, going from a small team to a much bigger team. And just tell about the culture. Tell us, what were you thinking about? How do you develop your organization? What were you thinking about that? What were you thinking about leadership? How were you thinking about how do I, essentially as a cultural leader, how do I lead my team? What were the practices? What were the things you were doing to kind of bring the team together, work better as a team?
Yeah, this is why it's so much fun to be an entrepreneur. Because the truth is the skill set required to start a new idea, to take it from an idea to a MVP, and to get that to a product market fit, and then to scale, build culture, build a team. Those are very different skill sets. Mm-hmm. And as a young entrepreneur, I didn't know what it meant to build culture. I had read books about it. I talked to investors about it, but didn't click for me. and truth is, the culture of a company needs to evolve as it grows. Day one, you cannot have the same culture as you do at, and 2 years later. And I learned, in fact, a lot from you in that process. Building that operational skill set was really critical for our success. So we build a lot of operational rigor in our business.
And you had some practices. I remember your communication to your employees, how often you got in front of them, how openly you shared the challenges.
Yes.
You had some unique practices in the way you interacted with your team.
Well, look, I learned it the hard way. I wasn't super transparent in the first few years of the company. I always kept everything to myself, and I learned quickly that's the absolutely wrong way to do it. So we've been, to this date, I still do it. I have bi-weekly all hands. I still kept our board meeting internally, and I present that to the whole company after our board. So they see everything. And I think that allows us to focus on the problems. And I no longer try to hide the problems. In fact, I put them in front of everyone. We missed this goal, even if it's revenue or a really important KPI. That's scary. It's better to, people are smart. They know what's going on. When you put it in front of them, and if you have a capable team, they're going to help you solve it. And so I think those were really instrumental.
And you were conscious about also the diversity of the team. The team was quite diverse with different backgrounds. Gender diversity, cultural diversity. It was pretty diverse.
Yeah, it was. And I have to say, it just happened organically. It wasn't, and I was very proud of it. But it wasn't that I would seek a particular profile or person. It just happened. Which
because you're really blind to those prejudices.
No, I can't say I'm blind, but I think that it's important that we create an environment that attracts those type of people.
I think transparency is such a powerful capability. It comes with it so many positive goodness.
Right.
That's people.
Obviously, it's easier said than done. I still work on it. These are muscles I need to still exercise, but I try.
Absolutely. So, what's the vision for Tubi going forward? What does Tubi looks like 5 years? I mean, you've already accomplished a lot. But as an entrepreneur, as an executive now, as an executive in a large organization with a lot of responsibility, what does Tubi looks like 5 to 10 years from now?
Let me first preface it because I think it might be misinterpreted. I love amazing shows on HBO and Netflix. Watch Game of Thrones and all the incredible shows produced these days. And we're really at the peak of television. I mean, some of the best shows ever in history are produced these days in the US. So it's incredible. Having said that, if you believe that the future 10 years out of media is someone sitting in a room and deciding what movie and what TV show, what story me and you should hear, then, I don't know if Tubi is going to be the winner in the space. But if the future is about diversity of voices and a subset of which is relevant to you, whether that's a documentary on South Africa or a comedy movie that you want to watch with your kids tonight, then we're really well positioned to do that because we have immense amount of data. We're one of the best in the ecosystem on using data and collecting data for the purposes of personalization. We have the largest library of content in the world. We're now making originals. So that is the personalized television, a TV that understands you and tunes to you, is what we're building towards. And I think that's a huge opportunity.
Any kind of broad set of thoughts for entrepreneurs like yourself? I mean, if you look back on your early days, what are the things that you would do again, and what are the things that you would avoid? Any thoughts there?
I would definitely start a company again, I think that even though I made a lot of mistakes, It was part of my journey of education as an entrepreneur. So I can't say I regret them because I didn't know better, and that's part of the learning. I think that's great. I think having an important supportive board is something I learned later in the process. Board was always, to me, was this metaphorical boss that I had to report to and make sure they're pleased and not complaining at the beginning. But towards the end, I realized that they could be a lot more helpful. So I think and they could open doors or do the other way around.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time. I know I've taken you away from the business to spend time with us, and it's just super. I'm super excited for you. It's been a pleasure to kind of watch you build an amazing business, grow the way you have grown as a leader, truly as a leader. Whether you know it or not, I know a lot of people around you who work for you who appreciate your leadership quality and how you treat people. And it's just it's a pleasure, again, watching you grow and evolve. Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you for having me.
All right.